Hi, I'm Ben. Welcome back to my channel. I love starting the new year scouring news articles and social media posts and publisher catalogues and all of that good stuff to find new releases over the coming year to get excited about. Although I do have a goal to read fewer new release books this year, that goal is more about balance for me because I still like to keep up with what's going on and to read some of the books that everyone is talking about. In this video, I wanted to share some of the books that stand out to me the most. This is not a comprehensive list and it's not necessarily covering like the biggest books because there is no Ali Smith or Sarah Moss or Stephen King, for instance. And I know all of those authors have books out in 2025. There are some big books in here, but these are just the ones that I personally am most excited about and I think that you should have on your radar. I've got 14 books to talk to you about, which is actually one more than the book a dozen. And now that I think about it, all of these are actually written in English. So who knows, this video could contain the future Booker longlist. Kind of unlikely, but it would be funny and it would save me a job of making a proper set of predictions later in the year. The list, all being in English, wasn't actually a conscious choice, and now that I think about it, I do wish I'd included some translations because there are some interesting ones coming out. I know there are new books from Sayaka Murata and Han Kang, and there's a book called Sleeping Children, which I've been sent a proof of, which sounds really devastating and brilliant, which is about the AIDS crisis. Maybe I should do another video about upcoming translated fiction, but for now I will stick to the English language books that I've found that I'm excited about. Anyway, these 14 books cover the first half of the year, and I'm going to run through them in the order that they're going to be published in the UK. Starting the year off with a bang is Disappoint Me by Nicola Dinan, which is coming out on the 23rd of January. Dinan is fresh off of winning the 2024 Polari First Book Prize for her debut Belly, which to my shame I still haven't read. I know that someone will immediately write in the comments that I need to read it, and I do, you are correct. This is her follow-up, and it tells the story of a trans woman who has an accident at a New Year's Eve party right at the start, and she wakes up alone in a hospital and decides to change her life. And so she decides to have a go at a typical heteronormative relationship with a man, and he has some secrets and some baggage all of his own. It is supposed to be a very modern love story, and from the few people I know who have already read it, they have told me that it is wonderful. On the 30th of January is a book that I have been looking forward to for a while. It is Aerth by Deborah Tomkins. This is being published by Weatherglass Books, which is an indie press, and it's one of the joint winners of their inaugural Novella Prize, which was judged by Ali Smith. So it comes with a lot of high praise. It was also on Eric Carl Anderson's top books of the year list, and with a recommendation from Eric, if I wasn't excited before, I definitely am now. This is about a man who lives on a planet called Aerth with an AE, and that planet is entering into an ice age. But when the planet Aerth with a U is discovered, he travels there and finds it initially welcoming, but not so much as time goes on. It's all about migration and climate and interplanetary homelessness, and I think it's going to have a lot to say about some of the climate migration challenges that we're going to face here on our own Earth in the coming decades. I love stories that use a bit of sci-fi to say something about our own circumstances, and so I am very much looking forward to this one. On the 13th of February, we're going to get the UK release of Rejection by Tony Tulathimutte. This one is just for non-US viewers, really, because all of you lucky sods in America don't have to wait for this one at all. This came out last year, it was nominated for the National Book Award, and so many people have already read it and loved it. I think it was also in Andy from Reid's top 10 books of the year, which is all the recommendation I need to go out and read it. If you haven't already heard about this one, it is a collection of linked short stories about different types of rejection in the modern age. I've heard it is extremely cringe-inducing with some of the most awkward situations laid down in print that people have ever read. And I don't really want to know much more than that, I just want to read it. There's another release on the 13th of February that I am excited about, and that is Beartooth by Callan. This is a book set in deepest, darkest Montana about two brothers who are getting by, but they're struggling. And so when a mysterious man comes and offers them a pretty dodgy sounding hunting job in Yellowstone National Park, they simply cannot refuse it. It's been described as a heist story that is brutal and pacey and has some thriller vibes. And if you can resist reading this one straight away upon release, it would be a really good pick for the Read Good Challenge because the December prompt is Decembros, where you need to read a book about brothers. A week later, on the 20th of February, is the release of a book called Woman in Blue by Douglas Bruton. So, although Orbital wasn't my favourite book from the Booker longlist this year, one thing I did really like about it was how it explored perspective in art, thinking about who is the observer and who is being observed, and how that can change in different situations. There was this one painting the book kept referencing called Las Meninas by Velázquez, which was really fun to look up and have a think about for myself. And it is something that has really stuck with me since I put that book down. And that's why Woman in Blue really appeals to me, because this is about a man who visits the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam every day to visit the same painting of a woman wearing blue clothing, reading a letter. I assume it's this painting here on the front cover. And he is a bit obsessed with it. So the book explores this man's obsession, his magnetic draw to this painting, but it also tells the story of the woman in the painting. I find that concept really fascinating. It's ripe for some really interesting exploration and observations, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what it has in store for me. This copy was kindly sent to me by the folks at the indie publisher Fairlight Books, who is publishing it in the UK, after I sent them a really enthusiastic message, basically explaining why I'm so interested in it. And so I'm very grateful to get the chance to tackle it ahead of its release. Moving into March, there are 3 books, all released on the same day, that really excite me. The first one is Universality by Natasha Brown. This is Brown's second novel after her cracking debut, Assembly. A while ago, I saw pictures of proofs of Universality that were entirely in shiny gold, which made like a bookish magpie like me completely consumed in envy. I sadly didn't get my hands on a gold proof, but I'm happy to wait until the official release date. But that gold was there for a reason, and there is a gold bar on the final cover because this book starts with someone being bludgeoned with one. The story of the book is about a journalist that investigates this attack, and apparently it focuses on words and language and how we use them to wield power, which sounds like exactly my kind of jam, so I'm very excited about this. Also coming on the 13th of March is The Antidote by Karen Russell. This has been a long time coming because it is Russell's first novel since her debut Swamplandia was released in 2011. She has written short story collections in the meantime, but I believe this is her first novel since then. The story is about a woman who is a prairie witch in Dust Bowl, America, who has this ability where people can go to her and they can share their memories with her, and those memories leave the people's heads and they stay safe with the witch. That is until a storm decimates wherever it is these memories are kept and they are forever lost. It sounds absolutely bonkers, but also a potentially astonishing use of imagination to say something about our collective history and how we just forget really important things that have happened in our countries and our nation's pasts. Definitely one to look out for. Finally, on the 13th of March is A Room Above a Shop by Anthony Shapland, and actually, I'm going to put this down because the Granta proofs don't really give much away, and the final cover is actually really nice. This is a debut novel from a Welsh guy who is a woodworker and a filmmaker, and this is the first time that he has written a novel. It's told in short vignettes, which is right up my street. It's set in a small Welsh town about the relationship that develops between 2 working class men when one who, I think he's like 10 or 11 years older than another man, he offers him a job and lodgings, and it takes place against the backdrop of HIV and the AIDS crisis and Section 28, which was legislation in England and Wales that banned any material that was promoting homosexuality. I think this is likely to be very emotionally devastating, but I am totally here for it. Right, my next book for you is from UK indie publisher The Indigo Press, and full disclosure, I just think they're great. They publish some absolute bangers and they've got more to come in 2025. I've seen some other people talking about their upcoming short story collection, I Hope You're Happy by Marnie Appleton, which is coming out in February, but that is not the one I want to talk about today, because the one I'm really excited about is coming out on the 1st of April, but it is no joke, and that is Calls May Be Recorded for Training and Monitoring Purposes, which has been written by Katharina Volckmer. This book is about a guy called Jimmy who works in a call centre, and he just gets into these really weird conversations with the people that contact him. It is described on the back as ribald, scatological, melancholy, that it will make you laugh, weep, and never look the same way at an electric carving knife again. So that sounds to me like the wild ride that I might need on April Fool's Day. And it does start out with the very first line explaining how your doorstep is the most likely place to poo your pants, which I think probably sets the tone for the rest of the book. Moving away from poop-based content, on the 24th of April is the release of Open Heaven by Sean Hewitt. Hewitt is a poet and he received critical acclaim for his memoir All Down Darkness Wide a couple of years ago, and this is his debut novel. This is a small town story of first love between a boy who is shy and desperate to leave home and forge his own path, and another boy who is bold and charismatic and reckless. The book charts their nascent relationship, and I have high expectations that it's going to be an absolute stunner. Another poet with a novel coming out is Ocean Vuong with his new novel, Emperor of Gladness. His debut, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, was this beautiful, poetic story of love and loss, written as a letter addressed to the protagonist's mother. This new one also tackles queerness. It's about a young man who comes very close to the brink, and he is saved from ending his own life by an older woman. It's described as being an epic about found family and what it's like to live on the fringes of society. I think it's almost guaranteed that this is going to be beautifully written and heart-wrenching, and I just can't wait for Ocean Vuong to rip my heart out again. On the 22nd of May, we are getting the release of The Book of Guilt by Catherine Chidgey. Chidgey is the author of the excellent Pet, which I read last year, but also plenty of other books which I haven't read, but I know others have really liked, like Remote Sympathy, which was nominated for the Women's Prize, and The Axeman's Carnival, which I think features a talking magpie. She seems to be a master of all trades, and each of her books is completely different and unique. This one, The Book of Guilt, is about three brothers, triplets in fact, who live in a dystopian 1970s England under the watch of three mothers. The mothers record the boys' nightmares in the Book of Dreams, and they record their sins in the Book of Guilt. Something about this is giving me like Never Let Me Go vibes, and it sounds truly excellent. Then on the 3rd of June is probably like the highest profile release I'm mentioning in this list. It is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I am not like a huge TJR fanboy or anything. I did read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and it absolutely lived up to the hype for me. And I'm interested in reading more of TJR, but I think her extended universe is quite cool. I like the idea of it, but it can be a little bit of a barrier to knowing where to go next. This new one from her grabbed me immediately though, because I am an absolute hoe for anything space related. And this is set in the 1980s against the backdrop of the space shuttle program. It follows some astronauts in training, some Top Gun pilots. It's got love and mystery and disaster and heartbreak, and I am so here for it. And knowing how addictive Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing is, I expect it's one that you're going to be able to absolutely just inhale. And to top it off, it's been released on my birthday, so it would be rude not to. The final book I've got to talk to you about today is coming out on the 12th of June, and it's probably the one I'm most excited about. I can't really put my finger on why, I just really like the sound of it. I'm very excited about it. It is Saraswati by Gurnaik Johal. This is a story that centres around efforts to reinstate this ancient sacred river that is discovered in India called the Saraswati. And like the river, it is structured in branches because it's got these 7 stories of distantly related people who, despite being across the globe, all somehow end up involved in or impacted by this project related to the Saraswati. I was very fortunate to go along to an event where this was showcased late in 2024, and I saw Johal give a reading from it, and it was just excellent. It got me really excited, and I have a feeling that this is going to make a big splash when it's released. It's one I will definitely be reading. So those are the releases that I am most excited about in 2025, at least in the first half of the year. But I would love to hear from you about any books that are upcoming that you're really looking forward to. Do let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit like, and if you'd like to see more from me, then now is a great time to hit that subscribe button. But until next time, toodles.